going to continue the NFL conversation with John Clayton from the Washington Post. His latest, actually, I wouldn't say his latest, his first mock draft is up. And we'll get into his thoughts on that because we just talked to Moshe about the possibility of the Eagles, if they move Wentz, how in play would they be for a quarterback? Not only at number 6, Broads, but what about moving up to get one? Because you might not get the one you really want at number 6. You might need to move up in that situation. That's why John Clayton's here from the Washington Post at John Clayton NFL. We have a lot to get into with him on some NFL stories, so let's bring him on to the Boardwalk Honda Hotline as he joins us here on the Sports Bash. John, welcome back, pal. How you been?
Hanging in there. We made it through the snow of last week. We had 12 inches of snow here in the Seattle area, so it kind of pretty much locked everything down for about 3 days.
Wow. So that's a lot more than we got here in the Jersey area. So, all right. Well, we're supposed to get hit again tomorrow, so we'll have to update you maybe next week and see if we can top that. But what we can't top, I don't think it – well, maybe. You have the Wilson stuff that we talked to you about last week, but the Wentz stuff here. But I want to get your take on what's happening because I have heard that the Seahawks could be a partner for Zach Ertz, and if that's a name that would be intriguing because, you know, Olsen's kind of stepped aside. Is Ertz a guy that the Seahawks have interest in?
I think they do. I mean, because one thing about John Snyder, he has interest in just about every deal in the league. I mean, he keeps his ear open to just about anything. And even though they seem to be in pretty good shape, you know, they have Will Disley, who's fought injuries the last couple of years that they drafted a couple of years ago. And they also have Cody Parkinson, a 270-pound tight end from Stanford. They like both of them. But, you know, Ertz kind of fits what that kind of thing that Russell Wilson wants, is a star power. And he comes in as, you know, one of the top 5 type tight ends. Now, the only problem is going to be Seattle doesn't have a first and a third round pick, and they only have 4 draft choices. So if it's going to be available for a mid-round pick, yeah, it wouldn't be a bad move to be able to make. But are they interested? I think they are. The question is, you know, would the Eagles be willing to take a mid-round pick for Ertz to get under the cap?
Yeah, and I guess some of the thought is, are they going to try to package Ertz and Wentz together? Would that sweeten the deal? Would they try to separate them? I mean, I guess that's a very interesting spot there. But it sounds like Wilson, we kind of touched on this a little bit, but would that, I don't know, would that make him happy?
He would, yeah, because, again, you're adding a Pro Bowl caliber tight end, and, you know, he was happy with the Greg Olsen move. But unfortunately, Greg only had about 22 catches and had injury problems later in the season, so that didn't work out as well on a $7 million contract. I mean, the problem that Seattle faces, just like everybody else, can you afford to put $8.25 million base salary in a tight end? You know, because things are going to be tight against the cap, and you know, they've got lots of things to do. For example, getting Shaquille Griffin back, seeing if Chris Carson can come back, and if not, they probably have to go out and shop for a running back. And then the other thing in this market, I was just looking at the tight end market itself. I mean, there could be a lot of cheaper options that are still good players because, again, you know, I started to do my list of 115 to 120 cap casualties, and there's going to be some good ones that'll be out there. I mean, Evan Ingram at $6 million could be out there because he's got the 5th-year option. So lots of things can go, but that's why this is going to be such a fascinating time. But again, trying to get as much draft choice value, I think, as you can see how it is on the Wentz deal, may be difficult for the Eagles.
Yeah, speaking of trying to keep quarterbacks happy, are you surprised the trigger has not been pulled yet with this Carson Wentz trade? We heard a couple weekends ago from respective reporters that it was close.
Yeah, but I think what it comes down to is that Howie Roseman is trying to get the Bears to kick in more than the Colts, and I think that's what the big holdup is. And now, whether it's true or not, some of the rumors are flashing out that Wentz prefers significantly to be in Indianapolis and not in Chicago. And if that is true, and they are at least trying to make some things work, I mean, that puts the Colts in a great spot to get him for a second-round pick and a little bit more. I know Ron Jaworski reported the offer that the Colts made was like 2 2s, and if the Bears don't offer a number 1, and they probably won't offer a number 1 if they continue to find out that Wentz would prefer to be someplace else, then I think it's just waiting out the Colts and seeing when you can make the deal.
Yeah, I guess a lot of people are wondering, and you've covered this league a long time, John. You know how these things go down. How do you kind of view the job right now that Howie Roseman has in this? I mean, he has a quarterback who doesn't want to be there. Everyone seems to know. Does he have is he in a really tough spot, or does he have leverage here? I mean, now that there's a couple weeks past hearing that he doesn't want to be there, what kind of position is Roseman in?
He's in a tough spot because, again, it's like the cap is so much in question right now, and the leverage really isn't there to get all the things that you want. I mean, certainly it'd be nice if you can get 2 first-round picks, but that's impossible. And then one of the things we find out in trades, it's hard to get that extra value because you almost have to go at a little bit of a discount if you're trading a big contract. Now, the Colts are one team that can afford to do this because they've got like $69 million under the cap, so they have one of the biggest cap budgets out there. So that's why they have some good leverage in this, and it's probably why the deal hasn't happened. But no, it's a tough spot, and I would hope in the case of Howie, he doesn't take a quarterback at number 6 because I did not like the idea of taking Jalen Hurst in the second round when they had so many needs at the receiver position and other positions. And it's like now to pass on a receiver and take another quarterback, meaning what? In the last 5 years, have we taken 2 first-round quarterbacks and a second-round quarterback? I mean, that doesn't help the team. Sure, you get a good quarterback, but again, it's 6, and even trading up I think would be a bad idea.
Yeah, it's almost like you read my mind. I was going to bring that up. Considering the Eagles are not accustomed to being this high, though, just to play a little bit of the other side, since you are this high, do you think, maybe this is an opportunity to pounce on that? Because, look, this is a franchise that normally doesn't have 4-win seasons.
No, that's true, but I think it may follow next year that it could be another 4-win season because who's going to be left on the team? Because when you start to look at the cut list, I mean, it's dramatic. I mean, we already know that Alshon Jeffrey restructured his contract to be a June 1st casualty. Malik Collins did the same. That Deshaun Jackson's not going to be there pretty much. You also know that, Marquise Goodwin, who opted out, is not going to be there. I mean, what's left? I mean, so, they've got to start filling some positions. Now they're starting to get some shortages on the offensive line. There's a need at cornerback. But again, whatever it's going to be, I mean, this has to be an offensive choice. But again, to put that much into resources at quarterback and not be able to fill out the rest of the roster, I mean, you're locked into being a 4-win team for 2 or 3 years with a new coach.
Yikes. John Clayton, the Washington Post. All right, his mock draft is interesting because you have 1, 2, 3 quarterbacks going, but only 2 of them going ahead of Philly at 6. But you just said you don't think Philly should take a quarterback at 6, but Fields, in your mind, would be available to them.
Oh, yeah, I think so. Now, the question is going to be, because once we start seeing the quarterback movement as far as trades and cuts and things like that, all the numbers for the quarterbacks in this draft are going to rise up probably because again it's like everything I've heard out of Atlanta, they want a position player because they still have Matt Ryan, but they have to restructure his contract. You can see that there's some talk to maybe New England might want to trade up. I mean, right now, like for example, I have Mac Jones going at 28 to New Orleans. In the end, Mac Jones is going to go much higher than that. And you can also think the North Dakota State quarterback will have a decent chance to go higher. But again, that all has to sort out. That's why this was the first mock draft, and you kind of set the board and see where it's going to go. But then you start getting into specifics with the workouts and how moves go in free agency and trades to see where the quarterbacks all fit in.
You have Devonta Smith as the pick there. Now Chase you have going 3rd to Miami. So you think wide receiver for Philly to get this, whoever the quarterback is the optimum position for them?
Yeah, because, I mean, you can make the argument that both of these receivers are top 3 or 4 in the draft as far as players. And so because of that, either one is going to be a good option. I kind of went with the 179-pound guy coming at number 6 because I think, you've seen such a big push to get bigger type receivers who are real good, but both these receivers are good enough that either the Jets at 3 is going to take one of the 2, and I think the Eagles will take one of the 2 at the number 6 spot.
So you have Zach Wilson, the quarterback, going number 2. Does that indicate to you that Darnold will in fact be moved?
I think so, yeah, because I know there's still a little bit of question marks as far as is he really in their mind in New York the second best player in the draft? And I think there's a question about that. But also, if you can get some decent value like a 2 and a 5 for Sam Darnold, then you can start making up some other positions, and now you'll have two first-round picks, a couple second-round picks, and so you kind of get the feeling whether it's going to be San Francisco, Indianapolis if they don't get Carson Wentz, or somebody is going to be able to get Sam Darnold.
John Clayton for the Washington Post. Check out your favorite team's pick in his mock draft at thewashingtonpost.com or follow him on Twitter at John Clayton NFL. And all right, so John, by this time next week, Carson Wentz is an Eagle or somewhere else?
I think he'll still be an Eagle because I think that it's going to be a waiting game, and I don't know what's going to speed it up. But again, particularly if they're getting very limited action right now from Chicago, it's just a matter. It's like, okay, when do you want to do it and make the move? So, I think by next Tuesday or so, he'll still be there. Maybe next Wednesday, but nevertheless, it's got to happen sometime, in the next week or two. Just because, again, why wait so long?
All right, we shall find out. And hey, it just sometimes makes for an interesting offseason. And both Seattle, Philly could be in a trade conversation with Ertz. We'll keep our eye on that. John Clayton, of course, Washington Post. And he, like all guests, appeared via the Boardwalk Honda hotline. Always enjoy it, John. Thank you so much.
Okay, thanks.